Hello, dear friends. Let's start from scratch. So, first of all, who am I? I'm a founder of a porting studio and a console publisher. So we offer a full cycle of quality assurance, porting, and release management to titles, mostly to indies, but we are ready to work with bigger scale projects. So the first question that you will have when you will start porting is why? Console market is constantly growing. It's about 300 million of people. And the revenue here is most of the time up to 10 times from Steam revenue. Some bad news here. Porting process takes about 12 months. If we are speaking from the early beginning, so you don't have accounts, don't have access to Devkits and etc. So let's handle that stage by stage. First of all, you will need to create accounts of PlayStation, Xbox and Nintendo Switch. It's one of the hardest part here because you will need to make a great game concept to show the two platforms. I recommend you strongly to edit your concept for every platform separately, because you will need to implement some console-only features like haptic feedback for PlayStation or remote play for Nintendo Switch. Once your concept is ready, feel free to pass it to platforms, and you will need just to wait. However, some good news here as well. You can pass more than one concept. If you think that your game suits not that good, feel free to send 3, 5 concepts at one time, and once they will just let you in. The second step is much easier. It's receiving a Devkits. The only thing you will need is money and access to accounts. So, as for pricing, it will cost you about 10,000 euros for all platforms at once, and I strongly recommend you to buy separate dev and test kits. It will help you in future to pass quality phases without stopping the development process. Here the programming begins. You will need to implement SDK, receive edge ratings, and make console-only features. I strongly recommend you, before starting porting, implement controller support. It will be much easier for you to port a game later. Every platform has their own separate save system, leaderboard system, and profile changing system. So be ready to make a lot of changes for each game separately. So it will be 3 separate games. They will be nearly the same, but the requirements are not that easy to support. Step number 4 is release management. Here will be start of your marketing campaign. I recommend you to work with bloggers, but one of the most unfamiliar things that people always can miss is a contact of your developer partner account manager that will help you to get additional awareness via social posts, blog news, or YouTube channels of every platform. Here you will need to prepare a lot of marketing materials, and I recommend you to start with release management much earlier than you will pass your game to the lot check the first time. So your game has been ported. It has already passed the lot check. It was a very long way. When you want to pass certification, you will need to think about two main things. First of all, once after the review you were passed with a list of issues that are found, for example, on Nintendo Switch, be sure to add them to PlayStation as well, because on the second or third stage of the review and certification process, you will always have an option to receive this issue as well. The most hardest part here is Nintendo Switch. Their certification team is very hard-boiled. They love to ask for a lot of features, so it will be a long way here. So be ready. And let's advance to a post-release cycle. Sorry, I wanted to mention one more thing. When we are speaking about pricing, take a note that platforms don't override prices like it works in Steam. On Steam, you have, for example, for a lot of countries in Europe, different pricing, and it all works automatically. On consoles, that doesn't work that way. Nintendo Switch does overriding, but it doesn't look like you want to offer Eastern Europe people a price that can be higher than in Great Britain, for example. So take a note to change pricing manually for every game. So we released our game, we successfully ported it, bloggers loved us, platforms made it posts about our game. So what should we do next? Here the road only beginning, because the life cycle of every game on console is much longer than on Steam. You even can receive much more sales on a single promotion seasonal than on your release. So here is one of the unfamiliar, very strange and random thing here. On PlayStation, you will be invited to different seasonal sales, and you can join it. It's the easy way. However, you can't make a manual discount without your account manager, and it can be a hard way here. So be ready to check your email with a big frequency. On Xbox, it looks a bit weird. You will need to contact your account manager, and he will share a calendar of promotions with you. Some bad news here. Sometimes your titles can be declined to be added to a single promotion because of a lot of titles, concurrent titles in this promotion. However, you will be advised to join in games for Windows, deals with gold, or opportunistic sale by your manager. So be ready to speak with your manager every month, because calendar will be changing. And take a note that the cooldown period for every sale is the same to the Steam. It's about 1.5 months. Nintendo Switch. Here is the easiest way, because you can just download PDF file with all seasonal promotions that you will see in future, and you can manually add, join a promotion or add your own promotion that you really need. As for now, it's everything. I think you can ask questions.
Thank you very much, Anton. Very step-by-step thing. I really like that. Okay, do we have any questions from the audience now? I can pass you the microphone so we can hear you better. Cool.
Hello, thank you for the talk. What is the easiest platform to port to?
Right now, it's Xbox, because it's easiest to. Have a very high performance right now. You can receive a dev kit for free. The first dev kit will be received for free. And it's the easiest platform with big support from platform site for a developer. So they are ready to implement you in their newsletter. They will offer you a lot of posts in social networks. So you will receive their revenue much better than on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, and it's easier on the release. However, after a long period, the sales on PlayStation and Xbox will be nearly the same.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? Yeah, cool. Please.
Thank you. So Xbox is best, and which one is worst?
It's not the worst, but Nintendo doesn't generate that amount of sales that everyone desires. It's about 25 to 30% from all other platforms, and the certification here is a real chaotic mess. However, if you already ported your game on PlayStation and Microsoft, there's no need to skip Switch because job here is nearly done.
Thank you. And the question is, what was your most painful experience in terms of porting? What was the most painful game that you ported?
I won't name the title itself, but it was an Unreal Engine simulation game with no controller support and made fully on blueprints, and all localizations were hard-coded here.
I see. And the last question from me is, what is the most, let's say, problematic thing that you would name when porting a game to consoles?
That's an interesting question. I think that it will be implementing SDK because it will make a lot of problems. Sorry, I remembered one more thing that can be a real mess. If you have an utility or a package that doesn't support on consoles, for example, it's a plugin for implementing video, and you can't have access to consoles, you will need to rewrite the whole plugin itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. Anyone else? Okay.
Yeah, hello. I wanted to ask how you do analytics on consoles for Unity games, because we know that Unity Analytics doesn't support consoles. You have your own solution for analytics, or like, what do you do?
Every platform shows sales over time, like it works in Steam.
I mean in-game analytics.
In-game analytics.
Yeah, yeah. Like how many time players spent in a level and so on and so
we
forth.
haven't met with this thing before, but we are planning to release free-to-play titles, so I will discuss it a bit later. So we will implement analytics to show how players work, but right now analytics on platforms are not that bad. They check playing time, however, we can't implement a lot of additional steps in game.
Like you cannot customize it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else desires?
Hello, thank you for the talk. My question is, do you have any challenges with regions, marketing regions in a PlayStation everywhere? What the differences for game in each region, Asia, America, and so on?
Firstly, you will need to request age rating for every country separately, and that's the problem with Asian countries on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. However, right now, if you have a Japanese bank, you can receive age ratings by yourself and release your game on Nintendo and PlayStation in Asia. Yeah, yeah, or you can use IR.
Cool. Anyone else wants to? Oh, why did you give it to me then?
And additional question about patching and DLC. Can you cover a bit more about that? What the differences between these platforms?
The only problem is a very long certification process right here. However, you can release day one patch and release a patch over time. But I recommend you to pack all the issues in one big package and release it once by month. No, you can just add DLCs and updates over time. It's not a problem at all. So your game on every console will be automatically updated.
Sorry, so I wonder, do you scared of people using Lumen on Unreal Engine 5 and then trying to port their game to Switch?
It can be painful, but nothing impossible here. It depends on the game, and the biggest problem here is the game size itself. Because if it will be about 30 gigabytes, so yeah, it could be a problem.
And their Lumen thing, that dynamic lighting. And the game might look dark if we turn off dynamic lighting.
Yeah,
and,
sure. Your
and
game.
Developers didn't think about it.
Your game will be nothing like it looked like before you started porting on Nintendo Switch. So be ready to add a lot of changes. And right here is additional problems because Nintendo certification team looks a lot of at lighting because they have special guidelines for that. So your game should be prevented from epilepsy and itself. So lighting is one of the most painful things here.
Okay. So you prepare the Switch games, you prepare developers to know that their game going to be absolutely different.
Yeah, we talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm coming.
Controls on PC and on consoles are completely different, right? So it provides a different playing experience. And I was wondering, how do you actually adjust controls on consoles when porting? So do you make any kind of play tests with players or internally in the studio, checking and adjusting them to make sure the best experience for console players?
Yeah, sure. We work with UX and UI teams that will adjust and edit game in a way that can be much more playable on consoles. It's a very good question because console game flow and PC is different. So you will need to change a lot of interfaces and make a game much more playable. And that's a lot of work that you should start before porting, nearly step 1 or step 2, because the more your game console-like and with controller support, the easier it will be for you to port it later. For example, Rewired plugin is fully supported by every platform, and it's an easy way here to adjust your controls.
Thank you very much. Someone here wanted to ask a question, right? Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the talk, and I have like 3 questions. The first one is the most painful port that you mentioned. How long did it take you to make this port, and did you port it for all 3 consoles?
Yeah, all 3 consoles about 6 months, but according to this 12 months period, it's one of the worst scenario, and 6 months is a painful Unreal port, but starting from step where we already have Devkits and edge ratings.
How many people did you use to work on it?
About 7.
7 people. Okay. The other question is porting to new generation consoles like PS5 different from porting to the previous ones? I mean, is a lot of work shared between the two, or is a lot of work different?
Here are 2 ways of how you can release your game on current gen. So, first one, you just make full support of PS4, PS5, and the same on Xbox, and the game won't differ between them. However, you can make a separate build or enhanced version with better FPS, haptic feedback, and etc. on current gen consoles, and it will be two separate games in that way. But it's up to you. You can make two separate games or one game supported by both platforms.
Okay, and what are your estimations? How much longer will it take to make full separate games?
Depends on the project, but since you will work only on haptic, graphic enhancements, and etc., it will take about 3 months.
Nice. Okay, and the last question is: there are lots of third-party libraries that are sometimes ported to the consoles. Are they shared somehow between the porting teams? Because, like, if we port something and we make our own port of the third-party library for the, let's say, PS5, is there a way that these ports are shared between different teams, or does anyone do it on their own?
I think I don't get the question in a precise way. Do you mean if you are using a plugin that doesn't support on different platforms?
No, I believe what he means is that if you have a specific utility and you port it, your company, do you share it somehow so other people don't have to also port the exact same utility for another game?
Yeah, like, is it a common thing to share these ports?
Yeah, it's not a problem. You will just ask a sales manager on a library plugin side to share your repository for consoles, and you will share it with porting team. So we don't need an access to every single plugin on our side.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much for your questions. Do we have anyone else interested in asking something?
Okay.
And one more question is, as far as I know, there is some teams, outsourcing teams, which can help you with porting, like outsourcing QA team, which will try to find any bugs with TRC and so on. So do you recommend this kind of outsourcing, and can you share experience like that?
That depends on whether you are a developer or a publisher. If you are a developer, yeah, I definitely recommend you to use Porting Studio. If you are a publisher, that depends. If you have your own resources, your own accounts, the pricing here will be nearly the same. If your own team will work on a port, or a porting team will work on the port. For middle indie studios that doesn't have their own accounts, porting will be cheaper if you ask an outsourcing studio.
All right, thank you very much. We are actually done by time. That was very great and very, sprint session. Really like that. Thank you very much for engaged questions and discussions. It was a big pleasure to have you here. Please don't forget to leave some comment on Pi because, well, it really helps. And, a round of applause for Anton once again.